The Mary Celeste is a name that echoes through maritime history. It's a story that begins on a chilly November day in 1872. The ship was a merchant brigantine. It was 103 feet long. Its home port was New York City. On November 7, 1872, it set sail from New York Harbor. The ship's destination was Genoa, Italy. It carried a cargo of denatured alcohol. There were 7 crew members aboard. The captain was Benjamin Briggs. His wife and young daughter were also on the ship. In total, there were 10 souls on board the Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste was a sturdy vessel. It had been recently refitted. The crew was experienced. Captain Briggs was known as a skilled navigator. There was no reason to expect anything unusual about this voyage. It was meant to be a routine Atlantic crossing. Yet, this ordinary beginning would lead to one of the greatest mysteries in seafaring history. The Mary Celeste would become famous, but not for the reasons anyone could have predicted. Its legacy would be one of enduring questions, and of a puzzle that has never been fully solved. On December 5, 1872, a startling discovery was made. The British brig D.I. Gracia spotted a ship. It was adrift in the Atlantic Ocean. The location was about 400 miles east of the Azores. The ship was moving erratically. It seemed to be unmanned. The captain of the D.I. Gracia was David Morehouse. He recognized the vessel. It was the Mary Celeste. Morehouse knew Captain Briggs. He was surprised to see the ship in this state. He sent a boarding party to investigate. What they found was shocking. The Mary Celeste was completely deserted. There was no sign of the crew, or of the captain's family. The ship's only lifeboat was missing. But otherwise, the vessel seemed intact. There were no signs of violence or struggle. The cargo was largely untouched. This discovery marked the beginning of a great mystery. Where had the crew gone? Why had they abandoned a seaworthy ship? These questions would puzzle investigators for years to come. The Mary Celeste had become a ghost ship. It would sail into legend as one of the most baffling maritime mysteries of all time. The boarding party from the D.I. Gracia made a thorough inspection. They found the Mary Celeste in a puzzling state. The ship was not in distress. It was still seaworthy. The cargo of 1,701 barrels of alcohol was largely intact. Only 9 barrels were empty. The ship's papers were missing. So was the navigation equipment. These items were usually kept in the captain's cabin. Their absence was strange. It suggested a planned departure. But why would the crew leave a sound ship? The vessel's clock had stopped. The compass was destroyed. One of the ship's pumps had been disassembled. This was odd, but it didn't explain the abandonment. There was about 3.5 feet of water in the hold. This wasn't unusual for a ship of that size. The last entry in the ship's log was from 9 days earlier. It showed no signs of trouble. The state of the Mary Celeste raised more questions than answers. Everything valuable was left behind. Personal belongings were untouched. There was food and water for 6 months. The scene was as if the crew had vanished into thin air. This mysterious state would fuel speculation for decades to come. One of the early theories about the Mary Celeste involved its cargo. The ship was carrying 1,701 barrels of pure alcohol. Some speculated that fumes from this cargo played a role. The theory suggests that the crew feared an explosion. They might have abandoned ship in a panic. This theory has some merits. Alcohol fumes can be dangerous. They're flammable and can cause hallucinations. If the crew smelled strong fumes, they might have feared for their safety. They could have taken to the lifeboat as a precaution, but this doesn't explain why they didn't return. There are problems with this theory. The alcohol was industrial grade. It was denatured, meaning it had additives to make it undrinkable. These additives also reduce fumes. Moreover, only 9 out of 1,701 barrels were found empty. This isn't enough to create dangerous fumes. Despite its flaws, the alcohol fumes theory remains popular. It offers a rational explanation for an irrational act. It suggests human error rather than something more sinister. But like all theories about the Mary Celeste, it leaves many questions unanswered. Section 5. Natural Disaster Hypotheses. Natural disasters have been proposed as explanations for the Mary Celeste mystery. Some suggest a submarine earthquake might have occurred. This could have caused the crew to fear for their safety. They might have abandoned ship, expecting it to sink. Another theory involves a waterspout. A waterspout is like a tornado over water. It could have frightened the crew. They might have taken to the lifeboat to escape, but both these theories have problems. There's no record of seismic activity in the area at that time, and a waterspout strong enough to threaten the ship would likely have caused visible damage. Another natural explanation involves a sudden squall. A strong, unexpected storm could have swept the crew overboard, but this doesn't explain why the ship was largely undamaged. It also doesn't account for the missing lifeboat. If a storm had hit, the lifeboat would likely still be there. These natural disaster theories highlight the human tendency to seek logical explanations. We want to believe that something extraordinary happened, something that would justify abandoning a sound ship. But nature, in this case, doesn't provide a satisfactory answer. The mystery of the Mary Celeste resists simple explanations. Section 6. The Giant Squid Attack Theory. One of the more fantastical theories involves a giant squid. Some have suggested that the crew of the Mary Celeste was attacked by this sea monster. Giant squids do exist. They can grow up to 43 feet long. They're known to attack ships occasionally. This theory captures the imagination. The idea is that a giant squid might have surfaced near the ship. It could have frightened the crew. They might have fled to the lifeboat in panic. Or the squid might have actually attacked. It could have pulled crew members into the sea. This would explain the sudden disappearance. However, this theory has major flaws. There was no sign of a struggle on the Mary Celeste. A squid attack would likely leave marks, tentacle suction cup marks or damage to the hull. None of these were found. Also, squid attacks are extremely rare. The odds of this happening are very low. The giant squid theory shows how mysterious events spawn fantastic explanations. When faced with the inexplicable, we sometimes turn to the incredible. But while entertaining, this theory doesn't hold up to scrutiny. It's a reminder that the truth behind the Mary Celeste might be stranger than fiction, but it's likely not this strange. Section 7. Paranormal Explanations. When logical explanations fail, some turn to the paranormal. The Mary Celeste has been the subject of many supernatural theories. Some claim it was the victim of a UFO abduction, others suggest it fell prey to the Bermuda Triangle. These ideas capture the imagination. The UFO theory proposes that aliens abducted the crew. This would explain the sudden disappearance. It might account for the lack of struggle, but it's purely speculative. There's no evidence to support it. The Bermuda Triangle theory is equally problematic. The Mary Celeste wasn't even in that area when it was found. Other paranormal explanations involve ghosts or sea monsters. Some claim the ship was cursed. These ideas reflect our desire for exciting answers. They're more thrilling than mundane explanations, but they lack any basis in fact. They're products of imagination, not investigation. Paranormal theories about the Mary Celeste persist. They're part of its enduring mystery. They show how unsolved puzzles fuel our imagination, but they don't bring us closer to the truth. The real explanation, whatever it is likely more prosaic, but it remains just as elusive as these supernatural ideas. Section 8. The Ergot poisoning possibility. A more recent theory involves ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye. It can cause hallucinations and other symptoms. Some suggest the crew might have eaten contaminated bread. This could explain their strange behavior. It might have led them to abandon ship. Ergot poisoning has been blamed for other historical events. The Salem witch trials, for example. It can cause convulsions, hallucinations, and paranoia. If the Mary Celeste's crew suffered from this, they might have acted irrationally. They could have imagined dangers that weren't there. This theory has some merit. It could explain why the crew abandoned a sound ship. It might account for the lack of signs of struggle, but it has problems too. There's no evidence that the ship carried rye bread, and ergot poisoning usually affects many people differently. It's unlikely all 10 people would react the same way. The ergot theory shows how new ideas can shed light on old mysteries. It applies modern knowledge to a historical puzzle. But like other theories, it can't be proven. It remains just one more possibility in the Mary Celeste's long list of explanations. The truth remains as elusive as ever. Section 9. The Curse of the Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste seems to have been plagued by bad luck. Some say it was cursed. This idea began even before its famous mystery. The ship had a troubled history. It changed hands many times. It was involved in several accidents. These events fueled superstition. The ship was originally named Amazon. It was launched in 1861. Its first captain fell ill and died. On its maiden voyage, it collided with fishing equipment. It ran aground in 1867. The ship was salvaged and renamed Mary Celeste, but its troubles weren't over. After the famous disappearance, the Mary Celeste's bad luck continued. It changed owners several times. Each owner seemed to suffer misfortune. In 1885, the ship was deliberately wrecked. This was part of an insurance fraud scheme. The Mary Celeste seemed to bring trouble to all who owned her. The idea of a curse is tempting. It offers a supernatural explanation for a series of misfortunes. But it's important to remember that many ships had troubled histories. The Mary Celeste story is notable because of its famous mystery. This makes its other misfortunes seem more significant. The curse is likely just a string of coincidences, but it adds to the ship's mystique. Section 10. Subsequent history and ownership. After its famous mystery, the Mary Celeste had a troubled future. It was sailed to Gibraltar after its discovery. There, a salvage hearing was held. The ship was eventually returned to its owners, but its reputation was forever changed. It had become infamous. The Mary Celeste changed hands several times after 1872. Each new owner hoped to profit from its fame, but the ship seemed to bring bad luck. It was involved in several more accidents. Its cargoes were often damaged. The ship was becoming a financial liability. In 1885, the Mary Celeste met its end. Its last owner deliberately wrecked it. This was part of an insurance fraud scheme. The ship was sailed to Haiti. It was run aground on a reef. The owner hoped to claim insurance money, but the fraud was discovered. The Mary Celeste story ended in scandal. The subsequent history of the Mary Celeste is a sad one. It shows how infamy can be both a blessing and a curse. The ship's owners tried to capitalize on its mystery, but they couldn't escape its troubled reputation. The Mary Celeste's final fate was as mysterious as its famous voyage. It ended not with a disappearance, but with an act of deliberate destruction. Section 11. Legacy of a Maritime Mystery. The Mary Celeste has left an indelible mark on maritime lore. Its story has inspired countless books, articles, and films. It has become a byword for unexplained disappearances. The phrase Mary Celeste is often used to describe mysterious abandoned vessels. Its legacy is one of enduring fascination. The mystery of the Mary Celeste continues to captivate us. It challenges our understanding of the sea. It reminds us that even in the modern world there are unsolved puzzles. The ship has become a symbol of the unknown. It represents the dangers and mysteries of the ocean. Despite numerous investigations, the true fate of the Mary Celeste's crew remains unknown. This uncertainty is part of its appeal. It allows us to imagine various scenarios. It invites us to play detective. The Mary Celeste is a mystery that each generation tries to solve anew. In the end, the legacy of the Mary Celeste is one of wonder. It reminds us that the world still holds secrets. It challenges our belief that everything can be explained. The Mary Celeste sails on in our collective imagination. It's a ghost ship that continues to haunt us, long after its physical remains have disappeared beneath the waves.